Be seated, please.
Please talk.
I would like to welcome everybody to this meeting of the council here in council chamber. Please ensure that you are seated in the seat allocated to you on the seating plan so that when you speak, your name is correctly displayed on the live stream and the camera is trained on you. We are not expecting a fire alarm tonight, but if one should occur, please follow the officers out of the building to the assembly point on Manchester Road. The meeting is being live streamed and I would like to welcome those watching on the council's YouTube channel. Please remember that viewers at home are not able to hear you speak if you do not use your microphone. This includes when casting your vote for any recorded vote. I'm sure we are all delighted that England has made it to the semi-final of the World Cup, and we wish them all the very best. The time of this meeting was brought forward to 5 p.m. in the hope that they would reach the semi-final, and I know that many members, officers, and YouTube viewers will want to cheer on our boys. Sorry. That with that in mind, if the debate on any of the motions at item 5 goes on for more than 10 minutes, I shall move CPR 13H motions without notice to proceed the next business. Once that is seconded and with the agreement of the meeting, we will move to the vote on the item without any further debate. If any of the decision at item 6 goes on for more than 10 minutes, I shall move CPR 13I that the question be now put. Once that is seconded and with the agreement of the meeting, we will move to the vote on the item without any further debate. If we have not concluded the business by the 7:15, I shall move CPR 13K to adjourn the meeting to enable the building to be emptied and locked up so that everyone who wishes and is able to enjoy the match can do so. At that point, I shall then ask Mr. Deputy Mayor to second my motion and then invite all members to show their agreement. Will members please be concise at all times when they are speaking and not simply repeat what another member has already said. Before we commence the formal business on the agenda, can I ask everyone to stand if they are able for 1 minute silence to mark the passing of Anne Whittingham. Thank you. He dedicated many years to public service and was a prominent figure in British politics. Regardless of political differences, I believe it would be a fitting mark of respect for the Council to acknowledge her contribution to public life and offer our condolences following her passing. Please, we have a member of the public register to speak about Mrs. Whitcomb, so I shall open the floor to members after he has spoken. Item 1 on the agenda, minutes of the meeting held on 20th of May 2026. I will move those minutes. Mr. Deputy Mayor, will you second those minutes?
Second those, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Those minutes are approved as correct. As corrected. Item 2 on the agenda, declaration of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No? Thank you. Item 3, Mayor's communication. I attended the Royal Agricultural Show at Salisbury Hall, Ribchester on Friday, 3rd of July. It was a wonderful day and I received a special thank you letter from the Agricultural Society of the event. I also attended Preston Parade on 4th of July to mark the 100th anniversary of Preston Cenotaph and the 20th anniversary of the Duke of Lancaster Regiment. I particularly enjoyed seeing the community coming together for it. Item 4, public question time. We have received 4 requests to speak at this evening. Mr. March, I understand you would like to say a few words about Anne Whitcomb and her work in Burnley to improve road safety. Can I ask you to come forward to the public microphone, please? Mr. March.
I'm here today because of Anne, which suddenly had a, what can I say, unfortunate circumstances. What died the MP. I'm here to say, but I've met up with her 4 or 5 times, and she helped me and my family. I one incident, which is about 10 years ago, but it's never forgot. And I'm just here to say it, but she was a woman that liked good challenge, and never liked it to be really beat. So there's not much more I can say really, but so I've also been in touch to get permission to send some sort of flowers or donations. It's such a long way away. I've already prepared that to go off tomorrow. So I'm just saying, but I know she's a one and only woman, but she's been on loads of issues, and she's done well on lots of the issues, but she don't back down, like I say. She likes a good challenge, and sometimes it's paid off, so I'm just paying my respects for her. She's a lovely woman, really. That's much more I can say, really.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Mr. March, please feel free to leave at this point if you wish, or by all means stay for any or all. Any member? No?
Ashworth.
Councillor Ashworth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. March, for beautiful words in respect of Anne Widdecombe. As the Burnley Conservatives Group leader, I wanted to pay tribute today to Anne Widdecombe, and I thank Luckman, Mr. Mayor, and the Council in supporting this. Anne Widdecombe was a formidable politician who was never afraid to speak her mind and fought hard for what she believed. Anne fought her first parliamentary seat right here in our town as a Conservative candidate for Burnley in 1979. A true force of nature with a gritty determination to getting things done that defined her over decades in public life. Our thoughts are with her family and loved ones. Rest in peace, Anne. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other member? No. Mr. Griffiths. Can I ask you to come forward to the public microphone, please? Mr. Griffiths.
Hello. Testing. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, councillors and members of the public. My name is Paul Griffiths, and for several years I've been involved in community book projects that make books more accessible to everyone. Tonight I'd like to introduce Burnley Community Bookcases, a proposal to install permanent public bookcases across the borough to encourage reading, reduce waste and strengthen our communities. The idea is simple. Small, weatherproof bookcases would be placed in locations where people naturally pass each day, such as parks, community centres, shopping areas, neighbourhood centres and other public spaces. These bookcases are not intended to replace our excellent library service, but to complement it by bringing books into everyday public life. A visible culture of reading changes the atmosphere of a town. A child might discover their first favourite author while visiting a park. Someone who cannot afford to buy books can enjoy a free access to literature. An elderly resident can pass on books they no longer need, knowing someone else will enjoy them too. There are important environmental benefits as well. Many charity shops receive more books than they can sell, and some even have to turn away donations because they simply have no space. Many perfectly good books are eventually recycled. Community bookcases would help keep those books circulating within the Burnley area. Each bookcase could be cared for by local volunteers, creating a shared sense of ownership and helping ensure they remain tidy, welcoming community assets. We're also exploring the idea of inviting local school children to help design the artwork for the bookcases, giving every location its own identity while celebrating Burnley's communities. Following recent discussions with members of the council, we're now working towards launching an initial pilot of 3 bookcases with the ambition of having them installed by March 2027, ready for Burnley's Year of Culture. We're currently compiling a list of potential locations, particularly community centres and other public spaces. I'd like to ask all 45 councillors representing Burnley's 15 wards to let us know if there are suitable locations within their communities. Council on Land may allow installations to progress more quickly, although we're also happy to explore partnerships with other organisations where appropriate. I'm pleased that the council has expressed the willingness to support and fund this pilot scheme. The books themselves can be supplied through community donations and surplus stock from Burnley Market Bookshop, with volunteers helping maintain each location. I also hope to work alongside Burnley Library Services, schools, charities, businesses and community groups to ensure the project complements the excellent work already taking place across the borough. I believe Burnley has an opportunity to create something positive, visible and genuinely community-led, something that encourages reading, brings neighbours together, reduces waste and gives residents something they can all be proud of. I look forward to working with the council and local communities to make Burnley community bookcases a reality. Thank you very much for your time.
Councillor Hurd, would you like to reply?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Paul, for bringing forward this thoughtful proposal. I personally welcome the idea behind Burnley community bookcases. Anything that helps promote reading, improving literacy, and encourage a lifelong love of books, particularly amongst children and young people, is something we are supportive of exploring. I understand the council officers have already agreed to meet with you. From what you've said, they've already met with you to discuss the proposal in more detail. Hopefully that meeting provided an opportunity to consider the practical aspects, including suitable locations, ongoing maintenance, volunteer involvement, costs, and whether community bookcases represent the most effective way of encouraging reading alongside our existing library and literacy services. It will also be important to explore how any scheme could complement but not duplicate the work already undertaken by Burnley Library, local schools, community organisation and literacy partners, ensuring that any future project strengthens the borough's wider reading strategy rather than operating in isolation. Organisations such as National Literary Trust emphasise that improving literacy works best when local authorities, schools, libraries, charities and communities work together to create a culture of reading throughout a town. Higher literacy levels are also linked not only to educational attainment, but also improved employment prospects, well-being and stronger communities, all of which we would like to see in Burnley. I particularly welcome your suggestion of beginning with small pilot projects, allowing the council and local partners to evaluate public engagement, usage and community support before considering any wider rollout. A measured approach would enable evidence to be gathered and ensure value for money. And I'd also just like to ask that I'm personally an avid reader. I read every night and I have done since I was a child. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It up to the floor for a maximum of 10 minutes. Any member? Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members. Sir, thank you so much for actually raising this evening. I cannot thank you more than enough. I was involved in the initial installation of the book club at Ightenhill Park, which was well received. In fact, Elderwoman Ida Carmichael was heavily involved in that, along with as well as Councillor Broughton will remember. We put that place in Ightenhill Park and it was absolutely amazing. Kids used it left, right and centre. I built the upgraded version of it myself by hand. Unfortunately, that met a little bit of an accident, which moves on to my motion later on this evening. But nonetheless, I think it's really important that we actually provide free books for children in our area. As the former parliamentary constituency support manager for Anthony Higginbotham, our former member of parliament, I was also heavily involved in the instigation of the Dolly Parton Foundation. Many of you may not know about this, but it is a book club that provides young children, preschool children, with free books. We had to seek funding from the private sector to actually allow this. And over that 4-year period, I'm pleased to say that we provided over 400, I think, children with books over a 4-year period that were addressed directly to them on their doorstep. That isn't possible at this moment in time, obviously. The money's now been removed, the scheme is finished, but this I fully support, and I would urge all members here in this chamber to thank this gentleman this evening for this absolutely magnificent recommendation. Thank you again, sir. Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Kazmi.
I've been sitting here and your presentation has really excited me because I'm an academic and I teach and educate people from all ranges. And getting young people to participate in reading is so powerful. Looking at the attainment rates in Burnley for literacy, it is very, very low. And if we can utilize this book club to get young people off their iPhones and iPads, I think this is fantastic. Just a humble suggestion, I'd love to be part of this project because I think it's so crucial. We can give them the books. We need to engage these young people and we need to create activities where young people are inspired. And from my perspective, I work with 20-year-olds. Getting adults to read and engage is complex. So we really need to change the narrative. And being a councillor for Daneshouse and Stonyhome ward, I'd be so proud to facilitate this in my ward. And I'm going to get all my young people there to engage with this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Hurd, you have a final right to reply.
I'd just like to say that it's really good to hear the positive comments from councillors, and I'm really excited to see where this project goes.
Thank you, Councillor Hurd. Now, Mr. Griffith, thank you for attending this evening to speak about your interesting proposal. You are welcome to stay for the whole meeting if you wish, or if you want to leave, you can leave at any point. Our next speaker wishes to speak about a motion at agenda item 5C and are entitled to speak for up to 5 minutes each. Rather than inviting members to speak immediately afterwards, I shall invite them to speak after the motion has been moved and seconded at the agenda item 5C. Mr. Lone, can I ask you to come forward to the public microphone? Mr. Lone. Mr. Lone, go ahead when you...
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I start with to be congratulate to this chamber, team of Burnley Council, to achieve the LGR award, which is a fantastic thing for us. Now I come towards the motion. I'm putting a motion for that area which is surrounded by 3 atomic powers, a territory which is being left over agenda of British Empire in 1947. The thing is, I would like to say that whatever is happening on the ground there, this is the second place in the world which is having a violation of human rights badly. First was the Gaza, what was happening there, and we stand together about that one. This is the place where we are having a same sort of ground realities there, blockage of food, medicines, which is everybody start using this as a weapon to stop that. Second thing, to be use a live ammunition onto the peoples, unarmed peoples who are there just for their basic rights. They are not asking anything else, and the involvement from the surrounding countries, which is wrong, which is against their own constitution. So these things need to be highlighted, and we need to support your support to be stop these sort of creating atmosphere on the ground. I know you can say that this is an international issue, and why we are discussing in this council. On 26th of September, when this thing started, thanks to our MP Oliver Ryan, who helped me to write this letter to Pakistani High Commission not to cause any problem in that region, because that's against their constitutional Article 257. That letter is being provided to the Parliament, And we have a response from the parliament, which they have discussed with the Pakistan High Commission, not to have these sort of problems over there. And they have promised, okay, we are in a negotiation with the peoples, and we are coming on some sort of agreement. They did the agreement. There was 4 federal ministers from the Pakistan government. They signed that agreement, but still they haven't done that everything what they agreed. So these are the problems going on. The people come back onto the street, and then they want their basic rights. Basic rights, what they are. We British government, we pay Pakistan government our 61.2 billion pounds for the basic issues, education, health, and infrastructure. They don't use that one. All this money is being used by the corrupt politicians, officers using for their luxuries. People of Kashmir, they want these monies, these funds to be utilized on them. But the government, they are by force trying to abolish them, to finish them, which is wrong. Because we are a stakeholder, we are paying for these things, and these things are not happening on the ground. That's why they are protesting, and they are asking us to help them. So this is the motion which we are forwarding. We want that we write to the British Pakistani High Commission, whatever money we are providing them, that should be used and will be accountable on the ground for the peoples. Thank you. I don't take your more time because it's a football tonight. I want you to be finished that early. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, the second speaker, Dr. Hassan. Dr. Hassan? No? Right. Now we will move on to item 5 on the agenda, motion to council. Once the motion has been moved and seconded, members may speak once and for a maximum of 5 minutes. They may then only speak again on an amendment. Item 5, putting residents first. The borough-wide Article 4, direction and inquiry into the social and economic effects of the high HMO concentrations. Before I invite Councillor Thompson to move this motion, I would like to advise members that there will be no speech on it by the mover or seconder, and no debate, as it will need to be referred to the executive in accordance with the CPR 12 motions on expenditure, because it would involve significant expenditure. Councillor Thompson, will you please move the motion?
Mr. Mayor, happy to move that motion.
Councillor Paulton, will you second the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to second.
Thank you. The motion is referred to the executive without any debate. Item 5B, more in common. Civility in public life. Councillor Haig, will you please move the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you can likely tell from my choice of clothing tonight, Mr. Mayor, I'm all about common ground. My thunder was slightly stolen earlier by Mr. March, but I do want to acknowledge before moving this motion that we have seen another outspoken woman in political life murdered in this past week. And whilst the police have not yet confirmed a political motive, the fact it is a consideration is a stark reminder to all of us that politics isn't always a career path that affords you safety. I'm sure the thoughts of everyone in this chamber are with everyone who knew and cared for Anne Widdecombe. I'm sure Anne and I had wildly different opinions, Mr. Mayor, but in the words of Evelyn Hall, I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. In the words of Joe Cox in my motion, the truth is that we have far more in common than that which divides us. And I think even in this chamber, we are often guilty of forgetting that fact. There are people in this chamber who have not always conducted themselves with civility towards colleagues, and I don't want this to be an exercise in finger pointing, but I think at a time where politics is so turbulent and social media abuse is at an all-time high, we owe it to ourselves and our residents to do better. We should engage in democracy and public life to reflect our shared values, with mutual respect, honest disagreement, and sometimes open discussion. We must work far harder to create a climate in which difference of opinion can be expressed with tolerance and respect. All politicians are put there by the electorate, Mr. Mayor. They should not face threats in doing that job. They should face political discussion and debate, yes. They should be challenged on their views and policies, but should not be intimidated or face intimidation in undertaking that role. Under fierce disagreement, we have a shared commitment to our democratic institutions and a shared vulnerability when violence and intimidation enters political life. I hope that cross-party this motion will be supported, and through accepting the offers from the Local Government Association, we can take our first step to doing better. I move my motion.
Councillor Khan, will you second the motion, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased to second this motion today because this is something that should unite each and every one of us in this chamber, regardless of political party. We all came into public service for one reason, to make a positive difference to the lives of the people that we represent. None of us stood for election expecting abuse, intimidation, or threats to become part of the role. Sadly, that has become the reality for far too many elected representatives. We have seen the devastating consequences of hatred in politics. The murders of Joe Cox and Sir David Amess, and whether it is political or not, but now unfortunately Anne Widdecombe. They were attacks not only on dedicated parliamentarians, but on our democracy itself. Their loss reminds us that words matter, behaviours matter, and how we conduct ourselves in public life matters. When Joe Cox famously said, and I won't be the first to quote her tonight, hopefully, we have more in common than that what divides us, those words were just as relevant today as they were when she first spoke them. Political debate should be robust. We will disagree, and sometimes passionately, on policies and on priorities, and that is healthy in democracy. But it should never become about personal abuse. It should never become intimidation, and it should never discourage good people from putting themselves forward to serve their communities. As councillors, we set a tone, the way we speak to one another, the respect we show to each other in this chamber, the example we set outside. It all helps shape public confidence in local democracy. This motion isn't about limiting free speech or avoiding difficult conversations. It's about recognising that we can challenge ideas without attacking individuals. We can hold different political views while still treating each other with dignity and respect. And the truth of it is if we want more people from all backgrounds, of all ages and all communities to become councillors, then we have to create an environment where people feel safe to participate. I'm really pleased that this motion works hand in hand with the Local Government Association's Debate Not Hate campaign, and I hope sincerely that every councillor in this room will back this motion. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Member. Can you please write the name? Councillor Anwar.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to keep it very, very brief, and I'm not going to go over anything that either Councillor Haig or Councillor Khan have said, because I agree with everything that's been said. But I also think it's very apt today that this motion has been brought forward, especially when earlier on we had a speaker about Anne Widdecombe as well, and about how we need to treat each other with respect. But I just want to focus on the words of Joe Cox, which were that we have much more in common than that which divides us. And at 7:15 on the dot today, we're all going to be starting out of here because the one thing that we all have in common is we're going to be supporting the England team. And I was looking the other day, of the 25, 26-man squad, 20 of them could have played for another country. That is the beauty of this country. That's the beauty of, you know, everything that we represent. And I think it's important that we share everything that we have in common. And I'm sure every single person in this chamber up there will agree with me that, you know, it's coming home, but also we need to make sure that we celebrate one another and lift each other up. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that I fully support this motion. Thank you very much for bringing it. I always believe in be the change that you wish to see, and that as councillors we should always lead by example and treat each other with respect. You know, I got brought up to treat everyone as I want to be treated. I got brought up Catholic myself, even though I don't necessarily always align with everything that I got taught, but that's definitely a lesson that I try and live my life by. And I just want to make sure that we're all, you know, we all get along at the end of the day. I think once you've been elected and you're in this chamber, we're all meant to be on the same team, which is trying to look out for the best for Burnley, and that's what I think should fully unite us all. Thank you very much, guys, for bringing it.
Councillor Bolton.
Thank you, Mayor. There should be absolutely no place in politics or anywhere else for threats, intimidation, harassment or abuse directed at elected representatives or members of the public. The murders of Joe Cox MP and Sir David Amis MP, and last week Reform spokesperson Anne Widdicombe, were horrific attacks on our democracy and should never be forgotten. Equally, the left and far left abuse and hateful rhetoric seen following the recent death of Anne Widdicombe was deeply disturbing and wholly unacceptable. Political differences should never descend into personal abuse or celebration of someone's death. Every councillor, regardless of their political affiliation, background or beliefs, should be able to carry out their duties without fear of violence, intimidation or harassment. However, it is equally important in seeking to improve civility in public life, we do not inadvertently undermine freedom of speech, freedom of expression or robust democratic debate. Politics is by its very nature about disagreement, strong scrutiny, challenging policies, holding those in power to account and expressing firmly held views, which are all essential features of a healthy democracy. Legitimate criticism, political disagreements and public debate must never be weaponised or misrepresented as abuse simply because someone disagrees with views being expressed. There is a clear distinction between abuse and democratic debate. Threats, harassment and intimidation should always be condemned and dealt with firmly. Equally, lawful freedom of expression, robust political decision and the right to challenge ideas must be protected just as strongly. The overwhelming majority of councillors already understand the difference between passionate political debate and unacceptable behaviour. We already have mechanisms in place, including the Members' Code of Conduct, standards procedures, and where criminal offences are committed, police powers and prosecution. For those reasons, while I support the principle that abuse and intimidation have no place in public life, I do not believe this motion is necessary or proportionate in its current form. Accordingly, I will be voting against it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Fellow members, first of all, thank you so much for raising this. We've all at some stage been subject of hurty words on social media, etc. I also condemn the tragic murders of Joe Cox and Sir David Amis, the Conservative Member of Parliament who was tragically stabbed to death at a constituency surgery that he was holding. But their deaths should not be used to push for LGA training sessions, basically, and the Debate Not Hate campaign, in my opinion, is not the actual answer to this. We've said here that 72% of councillors actually face abuse. This is true, we've all at some stage had that, but we all have learned somehow to deal with that. The solution isn't more training sessions on managing aggression or online threats. I personally believe it's about fixing the root causes of this. people out there, people in here, we all understand civility, but we need to push that out, and it doesn't require a training course. The issues at place here is that some deem that we have a system now of two-tier policing. Working class people feel forgotten, ignored, and they're angry. We're all aware of that. The motion quotes Joe Cox saying we have more in common. We all do have more in common. Each and every member here today sitting in this chamber and the people up in our gallery that are observing. We're from Burnley. I personally appeared on a video in 2024 that this council graciously asked me to appear on, to call for calm when the summer disturbances were taking place. I was grateful to appear on that video as having first-hand experience of the 2001 disputes that tore our communities apart. I was glad to do that. What I will say is that real civility starts with honesty, not enforced politeness. That shuts down legitimate criticism. We've got to encourage robust debate in democracy. We can't quell that. There is a line that has to be drawn, but we've still got to have freedom of speech. I may not agree with what you may say or what you may say, but that doesn't mean I can't actually say that. As long as I'm not inciting somebody to commit violence upon you or cause mass disturbance or using foul and abusive language towards you, why shouldn't I be able to say I disagree with you? Look, from my point of view, neither myself or any future Restore councillors that may sit in this or any other chamber in Burnley or Lancashire, and I can assure you there are many, many in the waiting. I'm not going to attend an LGA virtue signalling course. There's no need for it. That will do more for civility. Then we need to look at how we speak to one another, how we treat one another. This chamber's been a specific example of it over the last 18 months, with a lot of people arguing over various things, and it's been raised time and time again. Please be civil to one another. If we can do that here, learn to do that on social media, others can take lead from our leading example and take that on board. Let's do the right thing and prioritise Burnley's residents over some establishment training. But what I will say is thank you so much for raising it. It's important, but in my personal opinion, it's not required. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we mark 10 years since the murder of Joe Cox and remember Sir David, we should reflect not only on the terrible loss of two dedicated public servants, but also on the kind of politics we want to see. Joe Cox reminded us that we have more in common than that which divides us. Those words are just as important today. I have been a councillor for over 7 years, and until recently, I have never felt concerned about attending council meetings. The fact that we now have had to bring in security for meetings is deeply concerning. It shows that abuse, intimidation and hostility are no longer issues that happen somewhere else. They are affecting local democracy too. We have all witnessed behaviour within this council that has been upsetting and has fallen below the standards that our residents rightly expect from us. We will always have political disagreements. That is part of democracy. But those disagreements should never become personal or intimidating. We've also seen elected representatives such as Absana Begum speak publicly about the abuse, threats and harassment she has faced. Whatever anyone's political views, that is unacceptable. No one should be subjected to intimidation simply for serving their community. Supporting this motion, along with the LGA's Debate Not Hate campaign and the training it purposes, is a positive step. It sends a clear message that we can debate passionately, disagree respectfully, and ensure that everyone who chooses to serve their community can do safely and with dignity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Current climate, sadly, highlights the dangers politicians are facing in today's society, as have been highlighted with colleagues that have been sadly lost previously. But equally, as councillors, we need to set an example for our own communities, and safety at large by having a healthy debate and upholding common decency and respect to others, no matter what the political divide. We must set a great example to others to inspire these strong values. My background's law and security, so I'm trained in dealing with contentious and non-contentious situations, as I'm sure some of my council colleagues are who served in the armed forces and emergency services. But we're all human beings, people with feelings, people who are trying their best as councillors for their communities. As a councillor for Whitfield and Iton Hill, I've delivered many projects, successful ones, from pathways recently, flower beds, a whole host of projects, readily available on social media. And these have been greatly appreciated. However, just to lower the tone a little bit, recently they were subject to certain negatives. So when one gentleman went as far to say that I actually looked like a hippie. Now, in this situation, I actually agreed with him. I do look like a hippie. Another guy said that I look like Gandalf. I actually had to find out from my son who's Gandalf. He told me, showed me, I agreed with him. Two others actually called me names reminiscent that sound like Nick. So, Julie, I invited those gentlemen down to the area to embrace the beautiful area that we are trying our best as councillors within the ward and the hard work that's going on. Respectfully, I think in the current climate, Councillor Hay and Khan, I think this motion makes complete sense. And it's something that the Conservatives will certainly be backing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Khan, you have the right to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to thank everybody for the contributions. I think it is an important topic and something that we often shy away from actually mentioning. As a single parent, 2 children, I live on my own, and my mum hates that I work in politics. She is constantly scared, and people's families and friends shouldn't have to feel like that. I am disappointed, but very unsurprised that colleagues on the other side of the chamber don't feel able to support this. But we move forward with civility anyway, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Move to the vote. All those in favour, please show. All those against, please show. Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. I chair my casting vote. That doesn't matter now. Item 5C, protecting civilians and calling for peace in Kashmir. Councillor Rowan, will you please move the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move this motion, and in doing so, I'd like to say a few words. I want to be absolutely clear. This motion is not against Pakistan. It's not against the people of Pakistan, and it's not against the Pakistan Army. This motion is for human rights, for civilian protection, and for peace. I speak today not only as a councillor, but as someone from Kashmir. For over a month, I have had little or no contact with loved ones because communication has been disrupted. That uncertainty is painful. It is the reality for many families in Burnley, and it is the reality for many families across Kashmir. I know some will ask, what has this got to do with Burnley? My answer is simple. It has everything to do with Burnley because it has everything to do with humanity. When innocent people are suffering, when families are cut off, when basic rights are denied, we cannot pretend it's nothing to do with us. Across Kashmir, we are witnessing deeply disturbing reports of fundamental human rights being violated. Reports indicate that at least 20 civilians have lost their lives during recent unrest, with many more injured and hundreds detained. These are not just numbers. They are fathers, mothers, sons, daughters, brothers, and sisters. Every one of them had a family. Every one of them mattered. We have also heard deeply concerning accounts of peaceful protesters being met with force, communications being restricted, humanitarian supplies being disrupted, and people being threatened for speaking out. There are reports that individuals fear having their bank accounts frozen, their passports seized, or their families targeted simply because they exercised what should be fundamental democratic freedoms. If these reports are true, then this is not just intimidation, it is profound assault on freedom of expression, freedom of movement, and human dignity. It is coercion, it is psychological abuse, it is wrong. When innocent civilians are killed for demanding basic rights, when families cannot contact one another for weeks, when people fear speaking out because of intimidation, when access to food, healthcare, and basic services is disrupted, we have a moral duty to speak. A few months ago, people in Burnley were rightly frustrated when we told that there would not be an election. We spoke up because we believed our democratic rights mattered. We believed that having a voice mattered. If we believe that here, then we must also believe that people in Kashmir deserve the same dignity, the same rights, and the same protection. When humanitarian crises have unfolded elsewhere, including in Palestine, many people have rightly spoken out for civilians. We should show the same courage here. Supporting this motion is not about taking sides in a territorial dispute. It is about taking the side of innocent people. It is about saying that violence against civilians is wrong, that silencing people is wrong, and that human rights are universal. The bloodshed must stop. The intimidation must stop. Civilians must be protected. Communications must be restored. Humanitarian access must be guaranteed. Food, medicine, and essential supplies must be allowed through. No army, no authority, and no institution should be used to suppress the basic rights of ordinary people. Today, Burnley has an opportunity to send a simple but powerful message. No government, no authority, and no institution should ever be above the principles of justice, accountability, and human rights. If we believe that human rights are universal, then they must apply to Kashmir too. Supporting this motion means supporting humanity. I move the motion. Thank you.
Second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to keep it brief. I wanted to second this motion because I really believe in the power of this motion. Burnley is a wonderfully diverse borough. Many of our residents have family and friends in Kashmir, and recent events have caused real fear and anxiety within our communities. As their council, it is right that we acknowledge that. But I also want to say something more. Our compassion shouldn't stop at a border. Whether it's Kashmir, Sudan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Gaza, Ukraine, Myanmar, or any other part of the world where innocent people are suffering, our response should always be the same. We should stand for peace, we should stand for human dignity, and we should stand for the protection of innocent civilians. Every child deserves to grow up without the fear of bombs or bullets, and every family deserves access to food, water, healthcare, and the ability to contact loved ones. These are not political demands, they are basic human rights. And this motion reminds us that suffering has no nationality. Grief does not recognize borders, and the pain of losing a loved one is the same whether you live, wherever you live, and whatever language you speak. As councillors, we cannot solve international conflicts, nor should we pretend that we can. But what we can do is send a clear message, a message about the values that we hold as a borough, that we reject violence, that we reject intimidation, and that we support peace through dialogue, and that every human being has equal life worth. That is the message I hope that every member of this council can support. Mr Mayor, I'm proud to second this motion, and not simply because it speaks to the people of Burnley with family in Kashmir, because it speaks to the principle that applies everywhere. When innocent people suffer, our humanity demands that we care. I commend this motion to Council. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Ishtiaq.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there a printed amendment? Can I? Sorry. Yeah, if that's possible, I'd like to make an amendment to the motion. If that's Can I have a copy as well?
And then,
Yeah, they've got that.
no meetings.
You.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce an amendment, but before I do that, I want to thank colleague Lawn and Councillor Khan for bringing the motion to the council. And absolutely, it's got everything to do with Burnley because it's a human matter, human rights issue. My amendment is this council recognises that over 75 years, Pakistan and people of Pakistani people have stood in solidarity with people of Kashmir and have been amongst strongest and most consistent advocates for Kashmiri people's rights to self-determination. The continued support and peaceful advocacy of Pakistani communities, both in Pakistan and across the diaspora, have helped ensure the aspirations and plight of Kashmiri people have remained recognized by the international community. I go to add, this council recognizes the historic solidarity shown by Pakistan and Pakistani people with people of Kashmir over more than 7 decades and acknowledge their long-standing support for Kashmiri people's right to self-determination. I'd like to present my amendment to the council.
Is that amendment seconded?
I'll second that. Sorry, I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Can I request the members, please turn your speakers on when you're speaking? Thank you. So it's been moved and seconded. Is the monitoring officer satisfied that the amendment is relevant to the original motion?
Can I just have some clarification? Is that okay? Yeah. Stop. Yeah, thank you. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The amendment that I see, there's actually nothing wrong with the amendment. The point of order that I wish to clarify is because Councillor Lone brought this original motion to full council, and anyone that knows her and her family will know that she's been, really, really obsessed with this issue for a while since the ongoing atrocities have been happening. My concern is that if we add this as an amendment, it changes the motion to being a motion put into the council by the person who's adding the amendment. So rather than playing political tomfoolery with it, can we just add it in, is my question.
Councillor Johnson. Do you want me to get
Right,
Mr.
can you just hold on?
Mr. Mayor, just to answer 2 questions together. Firstly, I just wanted to confirm that I did consider that the motion met the requirements of, the amendment met the requirements of CPR 14.6. But in relation to Councillor Khan's question, if the mover of the motion accepts the proposed amendment, then it could be it can be incorporated into the original motion by way of an alteration. that would be under 14.7B. And it's got to be the consent of the meeting and the proposer and seconder. So that can be done.
Councillor Baker,
Consent, yeah, 'cause it's.
Oh, sorry, just a point of order. I'm not really sure what we're amending. It seems to be more of a preamble to the thing. Are we, can we identify, please, that which of the 1, 2, 3, 4 things that what we believe is being amended, what's changed, or is this just an additional bit that's going in, or where does it fit into the original motion, Mr. Mayor? Thank you.
Yeah, in the resolution.
Yeah, but where was it going?
The same, it's checked to say. Yeah.
so, what should I say?
Yeah. Can we have clarification from councillor Lone whether or not she accepts the alteration?
Yeah, I accept the alterations.
And then the meeting needs to signify consent.
Yeah.
Sorry, just to confirm, is an alteration not an amendment?
Well, alteration amendment is the same thing, isn't it?
Can you just say, can you ask the meeting, do they accept the motion as altered?
Does the meeting accept the motion as altered?
Point of order,
Townsend.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I think Councillor Baker made an excellent point, to be honest, because in terms of an alteration or an amendment to the motion, you need to be clear exactly where it's being inserted. Otherwise, how's it going to be printed and how's it going to be made public? It doesn't make it clear. There's nothing wrong in substance. It's just we need to be clear where it's actually going to fit. Is it just tagged on the end? Is it at the beginning or in the middle somewhere?
And perhaps councillor Ishak can clarify where he wants the alteration to fall within the existing motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before answering that question, I take Councillor Khan's point, and I'd like to thank Councillor Lorne for passionately the work she's doing on this issue. But for matter of clarification, I am also from the same region, and this matter that's being debated today is very close to me, and it's affecting a lot of my family's members too. So with regards to where this fits in, we can add it that this council's believes, and then the amendment carries on from there. Thank you.
So does the meeting agree with the amendment as altered, so the motion as altered?
Does the meeting agree with the motion to be altered as mentioned by one of the members?
All those in favour?
All those in favor, please show.
Accepting the alteration.
Yeah. All those against? Sorry. All those in favor, please show again. Sorry, my mistake. I'm rushing. All those against, please show. Any abstentions, please show. Alteration is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's now the substantive motion. It's now the substantive motion.
No, it's a substantive motion. Yeah. Any member? Any member? On it.
Councillor Thieker.
Councillor.
Thieker first. Thieker.
Councillor Thieker first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Burnley Council exists to serve the people of the Borough of Burnley, not involve itself in international disputes. Our residents expect us to fix local issues, improve public services, spend taxpayer money responsibly and hold the current council to account. They did not elect us to debate foreign policy. This motion asks Burnley Council to take a position on one of the world's most complex and disputed conflicts. In my opinion, that is not our responsibility, and it is not within our powers to provide resolution or influence. Foreign policy is decided by Parliament, not borough councils. If we start passing motions on Kashmir, where do we stop? There's conflicts all over the world. We shouldn't pick and choose which international disputes Burnley Council deserve Burnley Council's attention. There's also a danger in importing overseas conflicts into local politics. Our responsibility is to represent every resident equally, regardless of their background or beliefs, and to strengthen the towns, not risk divisions over issues that we have no authority to influence. Compassion does not require this council to engage in political grandstanding. If members genuinely care about the well-being of Burnley residents, they should focus on the issues that affect them every single day. Cleaner streets, safer neighbourhoods, better housing and stronger local business and services. This council should stop pretending that passing symbolic motions changes events overseas, because it does not. What it does do is consume council time, has the potential to create division and distract from the work that taxpayers expect us to deliver. Burnley Council deserve a council that concentrates on Burnley, not faraway conflict that has been in dispute for decades. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. May I advise the member that if they have concerns about what's happening in Kashmir, to take this up with the town hall in Kashmir. The motion is nothing more than virtue signalling, and it doesn't. Burnley Council can simply not affect what is going on in Pakistan. It's a waste of time and resources, and we should be focusing on the issues in Burnley, affecting Burnley residents. For these reasons, I will strongly oppose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I feel that we shouldn't be getting involved in international affairs. Otherwise, where do we stop with so much going on? Or do we just continue to cherry pick? It's also not what we were elected to do. That is the role of government diplomats and Parliament. We were elected to ensure that we represent the residents of Burnley, not a conflict that we have no jurisdiction over. Residents want us to constructively discuss and debate issues that will impact their day-to-day lives in and around the borough, from projects across the borough to local services to safer neighbourhoods and everything in between, while ensuring scrutiny and accountability on where taxes are spent. We are Burnley Borough Council, not Parliament. Perhaps instead of going through the council, is there anything stopping the members who want to write a letter do so collectively themselves, so as not to take up valuable officer or executive time? I don't believe this is what we were elected to discuss, let alone consider getting involved in, which is why I will be voting against this motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just a quick one, really. Like, for me, the reason why these types of motions get brought to this council is because there is people that live in this town and are living in Burnley, paying the taxes in Burnley, doing everything that they do in Burnley, but then they've still got family members that are being affected by this overseas, no matter where it is and these conflicts are happening. And all this motion is actually meant to do is literally to say that we just, as a council, we don't agree with violence in general and we agree with human rights. And it's, I know that, like, you try and think that maybe it's got nothing to do with people in Burnley, but there is people in Burnley that it is actually genuinely affecting, and it's affecting their family members and stuff. And I don't think it does any harm for us to just kind of just say, look, as a town and as a council, we stand for peace at the end of the day, and we just want to see peaceful things go on. We want to see ceasefires going across the world. And yeah, I'll support this motion because I just think that as a town that where, like, even things like gay rights was like a massive thing in Burnley. Like, and that's why we've got the rainbow plaque outside the library. And if it weren't for people having the voices in small little councils and towns like this, then we probably wouldn't see those movements going forward. Same with like women's rights and stuff. If we just told some of the suffragists and suffragettes not to bother, like, do you know what I mean? I won't be stood here having my own say right now. That's all I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? I just think it's a nice, positive thing for the council to push forward to try and say that we just don't agree with violence and we agree with peace. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
Councillor Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I will be supporting this motion. And like Councillor colleague here said, is it does affect people in Burnley. And there is, third, fourth generation of people from Kashmir living here who have difficulty getting in contact with families, friends, and so on. In terms of why does the council have to do with it? We've got nothing and we can't do anything and so on. I disagree with that. I disagree in a sense that if you go right to the beginning, when Kashmir was an independent country, it was not part of the British Empire. It had its own king who ruled, but in 47, it decided to give that Kashmir land to India. And there was a dispute, there was a partition, and it's half of it's administered by Pakistan, and the other half is administered by India. What I am disappointed is on this motion, it does not reflect the Indian side of things. So I am extremely disappointed in that. And I was not going to support it. But because it has included and recognized the work of what Pakistan has done, has been an active supporter of people in Kashmir for the last 70 odd years, because of that, I will be supporting. But I disagree with colleagues who say it's nothing to do with Burnley. It has everything to do with Burnley. And, we should support it. For example, when we had the Ukraine crisis, we had a lot of people from Ukraine coming and living here. People were able to sponsor them. Again, the conflict affected us in Burnley. When you look at people who are coming into Burnley who are in these HMOs and, the sort of stuff that Councillor Liam put forward, was going to be debated. When you look at it, where are these individuals coming from? They're coming from war-torn countries. And because of war, they are coming to a safe haven. So wherever there is war, we should have that opportunity to express our views as a council. And I think that's what we're doing. And I hope members across the chamber do change your mind and support this motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Over the last 4 years, I've had great pleasure in working with different cultures from all over the world: Pakistan, Iran, Ukraine, Russia, Poland, Romania, just to name a few. And every day internationally, I'm welcoming people travelling from our shores to other destinations. People with life stories of struggles and hardship that their families have faced, which continues to this day. I greatly sympathise with this, and also the situation in Kashmir. But for me, this distressing situation in Kashmir, it needs to be raised at UK government level by our own MP and not here at Burnley Borough Council. As you state in your motion, Yvette Cooper, MP, to urge the UK government to use all appropriate diplomatic channels. I think that in itself encapsulates exactly the directive that's needed. So my question is simply this: has this situation been raised by our own MP to Yvette Cooper? Again, I greatly sympathise with this, but I cannot agree that we should be making a decision on Kashmir at local council level. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Whitaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was wondering if we were going to run out of time there. I seem to be on a continuous time this week with things dropped on my toes at the last minute. Anyway, Mr Mayor, fellow councillors, I sincerely deplore the loss of innocent life anywhere, whether that be in Ukraine, Kashmir, Uganda, former colonies of various countries in Europe throughout the entire world. However, this council has no business as a local authority basically meeting into a branch of turning ourselves into a branch of the United Nations and to put ourselves forward to change the platform and foreign policy agenda. Look, we've got to be honest here. We've got local issues that we need to address first. We've got issues with crisis at homes, which are sky-high rents and energy bills caused by the current Labour government that is in place. Strained local services, again placed by the Labour government that is currently in place. Antisocial behaviour on our streets, which I'll be speaking about passionately later on. Again, in my opinion, caused by the current Labour government and the person who is still currently, Keir Starmer. I'm not going to even go along that. So, the motion claims to be neutral. I appreciate where this motion is coming from, but I've got to echo your comments, Councillor. To me, it seems at this moment in time, one-sided. India, Pakistan. For that reason, I don't think we should actually be lobbying the Pakistani High Committee, or our government should be. Our MP should be dealing with this, not us as local councillors. So, I agree, suffering has no nationality. But why does this council repeatedly spotlight certain overseas causes whilst ignoring others? There are many other disputes going on in this world at this moment in time. The slaughter of innocent Muslims in China. We are not talking about that. The slaughter of innocent Christians in Africa. We are not talking about that. True peace begins at home. Let's protect ourselves first as British citizens, protect our towns, our families here. Protect them from gang crime, protect them from knife crime, and the consequences of failed policies that have been placed upon us by consecutive governments who are trying to force an opinion here. Let's prioritise our own residents, first of all, before grandstanding motions to achieve nothing, which unfortunately, in my opinion, respectfully, is a virtue signal for the I'll always support Burnley. And I'll always put Burnley first. Not any foreign nationality before Burnley and the United Kingdom. Once we can solve our own problems, that's when we can then go out and help with others. Whilst I fully accept that it's tragic, I feel that we as a council should prioritise on issues here in Burnley, first of all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Anwar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just want to pick up on a couple of points. I think one of the points that was made, I can't remember which councillor it was that said it, was this needs to be brought up with the MP. And I think when Mr. Lone spoke, he did address that issue, that this has been brought up with the MP, Oliver Ryan. So it has been addressed through that channel. And I also do recall in this very chamber, I'm sure we've had a motion that's come on other issues, other nations, for example, the conflict in Ukraine. And I remember then Councillor Whitaker was a Conservative and Anthony Higginbotham, the MP, supported and spoke for that, but also the Conservatives supported that motion. So I think we need to make it clear, we can't be picking and choosing when things can come to this chamber. But I recognise what Councillor Charles Hayner says, that this is a conflict that's been going on for over 75 years, and the role that India plays in this can't be understated. And I think so I welcome the alteration that recognises actually that the loudest voice for the Kashmiri people has always been those of Pakistani diaspora, and that's important to recognise that. But in relation to the crux of the question, which is that what does this have to do with Burnley Council? I think it's important to recognise that of the Pakistani diaspora community that lives here in this town, in Burnley, 80% of them come from the Kashmir region. So that's 80%, and so they have links, they have connections. We already heard Councillor Ishtiaq has said, Councillor Lone, and they all have family that are connected to that. What does it have to do with that? I look at my father and his generation. They were people who came to this town, worked in the mills and built this town, rebuilt this town. They made a contribution. To this day now, we have people who make a massive contribution and they have links to those communities in Kashmir. And it absolutely matters to them. So if we have an opportunity and this motion has come, it's not virtue signalling, it's an opportunity for us, whether we raise it through the MP or whether we raise it so that we can send a message to the High Commission or via Yvette Cooper and it raises a profile, then we are doing what we can, our little bit, to share with other people and try to make a difference. And that is all that we are doing. So I welcome the motion and I will be supporting it. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Now, in light of the timing of the meeting, I've been advised that move CPR 13 motion without notice to proceed to the next business. Once that's seconded, and with the agreement of the meeting, move to the vote on the item. So if you all agree, will you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, will you second that one?
Second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All those in favor, please show. Against? Right. Any abstentions?
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. I'm not quite sure, and it might not be, I'm sure it's not everybody's fault. I'm not quite sure everybody understood what we were voting on there. We were actually voting on whether to move to the vote, i.e. the debate was finished. So everybody who put their hand up against there was basically saying they had a lot more to say on the subject. So I just feel I'd make that point. Yeah.
What they're voting for. But I have to go through the script which I've been given. Thank you. Right. Councillor Lone, you have a right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to clarify, we are not making a decision here. It is just for support. I'm not surprised by the response from the opposite side of the chamber. 10 to 15 minutes of their time or our time is nothing when innocent people are being killed. I'd like to thank colleagues who have shown support, and I'd also like to move to the vote. Thank you.
Vote. All those in favor, please show. All those against, please show. Any abstentions? Thank you. The motion is carried. Item 5D, expansion and strengthening of the public spaces protection order to tackle antisocial behavior across Burnley. Councillor Whitaker, will you please move the motion?
I will do, Mr. Mayor, but before I do so, I just want to say a few bits about this. we all represent various areas in Burnley that have unfortunately been subject to antisocial behaviour, whether that be drunkenness on our streets, people screaming and shouting and effing and jeffing on the road, people causing criminal damage, people, especially at this moment in time, driving around on our roads and our streets on electric motorbikes. We've seen the tragic consequences of that in Burnley Town Centre not that long ago. And it's thanks to the council leader, Councillor Anwar, along with other members, that we saw a major operation in Burnley Town Centre to combat those electric bikes. Many of them were seized. I was involved in the Public Spaces Protection Order the last time we actually looked at it and brought it into place. As a result of that now, I believe that certain amendments aren't just requested but are required. And this is what this motion is all about. Our residents should not have to put up with this kind of behaviour outside of Burnley Town Centre. If we have an issue with people riding these bikes, smashing up bins, running up and down the street, drunk, high on drugs, begging, then we should be able to act upon this. We should be able to put this on our next Public Spaces Protection Order, that we can incorporate that, which must be data driven. That is what the motion is about, as you read it. Must be data driven so that we can actually go and start tackling it, because that is what all of our residents expect us to do. We've all taken those phone calls, we've all had those emails, we've all had those WhatsApps and those comments on social media. What are you doing about it? So you can say we've contacted the police, we can say we've done X, Y, and Z. This gives us an opportunity to actually show that we, as a council, are listening to our residents. I move the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I second the motion.
Councillor Ishtiaq. Respond as the Executive Member for Community and Environmental Services.
Yes, of course, Mr. Mayor. I'm aware the council offices have already responded to members' motion on a point-by-point basis, but I may reply now broadly to the existing order. The town centre and retail area PSPO for Burnley and Padiham was introduced early last year following a review of existing powers and arrangements in the borough to improve the way we tackle antisocial behaviour in our most used public spaces. The resulting order, following an extensive period of engagement and consultation with public and key stakeholders, was more robust order. With increased prohibitions and expansion of footprints covered to include Padiham Town Centre and shopping areas of Brightcliffe Road and Corn Road, as these share consistent offending themes within Burnley Town Centre. A PSPO is a useful addition to the toolbox agencies have in tackling antisocial behaviour. But it must be proportionate, appropriate in scope. Any order implemented must be supported by evidence. However, there are other powers available to officers that may be more effective in dealing with some of the issues you raise. These are used extensively. What is the right approach for a location such as busy shopping centre may not be for a residential area where offending is different in nature. The order now is in place, is focused piece of work that addresses issues specific to town centres, retail areas. It is recognised by our peers across the county as an excellent use of power to tackle town centre antisocial behaviour, and council officers have met with counterparts from across Lancashire to share our learning and expertise. They look to adopt our approach. Any PSPO introduced is only as effective as the partnership ability to enforce it, and the success of the current order has been no small part thanks to the collaborative approach taken by council and its partners, and of course the officers' hard work. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other member? Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think it's welcome that a motion recognising the scourge of ASB in some of our areas is in front of the council. Because I think we all can associate with antisocial behaviour. We all get calls about it, and we're all asked to do things about it. But it's not just about one tool. It's about using every single tool in the box that we have. And the PSPO is not the answer to everything. It can be really, and it is recognised, that it should really be a type of last resort in terms of when all other tools have been exhausted, you then start putting restrictions on things you were talking about earlier, civil liberties and things like that. So it's got to be specific and it's got to be time bound. And to be fair, this group supports the work that the executive have done in this area and how it's applied PSPOs in a fair and proportionate way so far. And the other thing I'd just put on the table is not all residents in an area will welcome a PSPO. It can stigmatise an area. You put a badge on it that it's the PSPO area, and it can basically send a message out to visitors, those who are basically going to that area, potentially people who are trying to sell their homes in those areas. We've had similar types of issues with alligating. When you put alligates up, it sends a message, hold on a minute, it must be a high crime area or there's environmental crime. So you've got to be careful and you've got to be proportionate in how you apply these tools, that you don't send the wrong message. So we won't be supporting this tonight, but we think it's a fair motion in terms of at least putting it on the table and raising the scourge of ASB that many of our residents are affected by. And we do appreciate that in areas we must keep doing more to support our residents in those areas. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a councillor for Whitfield and Iron Hill, I'm alarmed at the rise in antisocial behaviour within my ward. I've held meetings with schools and the local community to hear their stories and grievances about these issues. Issues with youth loitering on school premises at night, lighting fires and trying to gain entry to outdoor pool facilities. Nuisance vehicles is a big concern in my ward and surrounding areas, scooters, similar wheel conveyors, which have damaged open flower beds and causing unnecessary stress and anxiety to the local community. Issues with local park equipment being destroyed on surrounding wards and equally on my ward, which has to be replaced at a cost, only for this to be a continuous cycle of damage and replacement, which I have dealt with many times over the last year. Parks are for children to play and everyone to enjoy. The local police I work closely with to tackle these issues we face. I just wanted to say a big thank you to them, as this has been extremely supportive in helping to tackle these incidents. Equally, a thank you to the council for replacing swing seats in the park areas for children's enjoyment, as it's supposed to be. Only recently, issues were raised to me about an ASB on Iton Road and surrounding areas within the community. Thankfully, with the effective communication and listening to my community, I'm grateful that the police have increased their patrolling of my ward and continue to do so. But we cannot stop. We have to look at all options on the table that will help and support our communities to tackle ASB and the right thing for people of Burnley. This motion could go further. The current PSPO working relations between the police and the council needs to be reviewed. We need to ask questions like, how effective are the joint operations? communications between the police and the council in combating ASBs and enforcing the PSPO. Who is doing what and how effective is this? And actually, what are the results from this? This motion we will support. It doesn't matter which political party puts a motion through. If it's the right thing for Burnley, then I can assure you the Burnley Conservatives will support it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things. First of all, I just want to say I agree with everything that Councillor Townsend said, in particular the things around the image that it would portray of the town or of those areas. I'm not too sure. I've walked around Iton a number of times, and some of the nicest houses in the borough are in that ward. And I'm sure if that was under a PSPO order, that area, then I don't think the residents there would be pleased, especially if they're looking to buy or sell in that area. And I think it's about the stigma that it brings. But PSPO orders have got to be, they've got to be proportionate. They've got to be in collaboration and partnership. And they've got to be evidence-based. So we can't just, as an executive, say that we'll go and place a PSP order. There's got to be a consultation process. And, and I also agree that it is good that this has been brought forward, because antisocial behaviour is an issue for every single one of us in our wards. But the way that it's been placed in the shopping centres and the parks is through consultation, and there's been an exercise that we've gone through. So I can't support the motion, but in principle agree with what it is that the members are saying, that we need to tackle antisocial behaviour. Because sometimes it's quite easy to just say, right, okay, it's the police's fault or it's the council's fault. But actually the truth of the matter is that when we're seeing antisocial behaviour, more often than not, it's young people or young adults. And why are they doing that? Because over the past 16 years, youth provision, youth services in this country have been decimated. In Lancashire, youth provision does not exist anymore. And so I'm proud, actually, that all of us will support the efforts to bring a youth zone to Burnley, which will help to alleviate those problems. So as I said, in principle, agree with what the motion is trying to say, but there's a process to go through, and this I don't think is the forum to do it. But what we will do as an executive is take that back and have a look at it, but can't support the motion in its current form. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Virtually 100% agreeing with Councillor Anwar, basically, on this one. Totally agree with the motion. No wrong with that. And to be honest, we tried last year. Oh, no, sorry, a bit before. It was March 2025 when we brought it. It does actually last for 5 years. Now, we'd normally let it run its course, but there are mechanisms, I believe, that I can replace and introduce it. But the motion that it's included now is so full of holes, it's unbelievable. No disrespect, but if a police, you were a former policeman as well, if a policeman stops a boy on a bike with a mask, not a mask, but a bandana or something riding him, and says, why are you riding that? It's antisocial. No, I'm stopping flies hitting me in the face, the stones do it. There's so many excuses to get you can't do it. Other agencies, apart from PSPO, are lacking, which tend to be the police more than anything else, trying to get them involved. The PSPO is easy, because I think we just issue a £75 fine, I think, with those. I'm looking for confirmation, rather than have to take them to court. But if we have to take them to court, proving all these things will be extremely difficult. We'll look at it, we'll review it, and because like everything, we keep everything under constant review. And it's a good aim, but on the other hand, it's time we stopped antisocial behaviour, not just fining people for doing it and things like that. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ask you this question: when is enough enough? Our residents are complaining about these scooters, cyclists turning up and down the street. They're fed up. What's it going to take? Is it going to take another life lost because we're dilly-dallying talking about a PSPO? Right, and the ramifications it might have for the perpetrator, right? I'd quite happily accept having a PSPO in my area if it's going to cut crime, right? It's going to cut crime. They can always come back down once it's gone. But if we don't do something about it, it's always going to be there. And we're going to be back here talking about it again next year. right? This is a good motion and it should be followed through. Thanks very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Haskell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to speak on this. I weren't going to do, but it's a good policy and it does need addressing. I wasn't surprised at Mark Townsend's tone about the Labour councillors won't support it. Be a bit like the government. 2 weak MPs don't listen to the voter. Don't want to hear us. They get to Parliament, they don't want to know. That's my opinion. You got people sat here, they don't want to interested. Everything's happening in this town. Well, let me just tell you my experiences. We've got people going up in there here with balaclavas on the face. Put complete face coverings. I mean just eyes showing. Now, you what's in here work hard. I dare say you work hard all your life. You've got a member going home, just worked hard all his life, and he's going home and it's one of these bikers. One of them bikers could be killed. And that driver, innocent as he is, he's just been charged with manslaughter. And he's done nothing wrong. Going to go out, do a 40-hour week at work, and being charged with manslaughter. It happens. Because nobody's listening. I've always listened from day one when I got voted on in 2015. Don't take no crap. And I listen to what my people say to me. I'm their voice. And you are their voice who vote for you in here. And if you're not going to be listened to, what's the point of being here? And I'll tell you another bad experience as well. And make sure you take this on board when you're voting. I was working with Canal Trust. And I went out with Canal Trust and Place. They were cutting heads off swans. People seen them do it with the balaclava up. Smashing up eggs on the nest. Drug-related, going around people's houses right on at night. I'm sorry, I think action needs taken on this. Your fire tippers, for what they get fined, it's a joke. And I'll tell you this now, on public record. Our council, Burnwood Council, is too weak on the fines. They're too soft. And the legal team is took it up.
Thank you very much. Now, if any item for decision at item 6 goes on for 10 minutes, we have to move this. So we are moving CPR 13I that the question be now put. Once that is seconded and with the agreement of the meeting, we will move to the vote on the item. That's because of the time shortage. Deputy Mayor, will you second that motion, please?
Second that, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favour for the go to the vote. Go and ask the question.
All those in the favour of motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure what I'm voting on here.
Go to the vote.
On that particular motion.
Yeah.
Right, okay, thank you.
Right.
All those in favour to go to the vote.
All those in favour of the motion, please go to the vote.
No, it's the vote. Might now be put. It's because there's 3 people wanting to speak. Go on.
Who wants to speak?
Sorry, just to clarify, just to clarify for members, please can we have order, please? Just to clarify for members, we're voting on that the question now be put, so whether or not we should go to the vote. So our member, Mr. Mayor, can you ask whether or not members want to go to the vote? You will get right to reply. Just bear with- Go on.
Will you please go on to the vote for motion?
No. Whether or not we want the question now to be put.
Chair.
Whether we want to put a question?
No, now, so this, if you just read this. No, just this bit.
It says here, move CPR 13I that the question be now put. Once that's seconded and what with the agreement of the meeting, we will move to the vote on the item. So that means that we are not going to discuss whatever is going to put to the motion, or then we are going to vote for it, either yea or nay. Yes, Councillor Baker.
Point of order, Chair. John, we're trying to get through everything as quick as we can. But on that last item, surely that we should at least, the proposer should get the final wit to come back with a right of reply right at the end. I can't hear.
He still gets the right to reply. Councillor Whittaker still gets the right to reply.
I shall shut up and not use any more time.
Right.
So all those in favour for whether or not we should go to the vote and allow Councillor Whittaker his final right of reply? Unanimous vote.
Yeah. All those against?
Yes, it's correct.
Any abstentions? Councillor Whittaker, as the mover of the motion, you have a right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members, thank you so much for taking part in this debate. I personally find it super important. Antisocial behaviour, as I said at the start of this, is a plague in all of our communities, and I hope that you will be able to support this motion for the reasons that I've stated. I must, however, point out I found Councillor Townsend's comments on civil liberties referring back to what we were talking about earlier and stepping on people's civil liberties. I don't know if you agree with me or not here, but do we have a civil liberty to wear balaclavas, walk on electric bikes, driving down Pendle Way? Do we have a civil, is it going to be abusing somebody's civil liberties if they go smashing up bins and being drunk on the street? This isn't about civil liberties. This is about actually tackling antisocial behaviour within our communities. Again, we're falling back on, civil liberties, civil liberties, civil liberties. Rubbish. Now, Councillor Anwar, thank you very much for taking the time to walk around Whitfield and Ironhill. I know you did a ward walk with me a good few years back. I appreciate your comments on that, but I live there 24/7, 365. So I actually see the problems there that are there all the time. To you, Councillor Ashworth, I fully appreciate where you're coming from with that, and also to yourself, Councillor, another Whitfield and Ironhill councillor. All three of us are trying to tackle antisocial in our area, along with the surrounding wards. We need to have an opportunity to put public spaces protection orders in place if we need to do so. That was the whole point of this. That was the whole point of the debate, and I am so pleased that we've actually had it. I would urge every single member in here who believes that Burnley Borough Council should be combating antisocial behaviour to vote for this motion. Can I ask for a name vote, please, Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, can I just make a can I just make a personal point of clarification? I just want to let Councillor Whittaker know I was actually in the ward last week when I walked through from Crowwood through into the woods and into the ward, and I had a good look around. It looked lovely. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, point of order. CPR 20.1, I think far too many members in here tonight are forgetting that we're supposed to address the meeting through the mayor. And I know it's very hot, but our standards are slipping. Thank you.
So we need a quarter to stand up. If a recorded vote is requested, you need to ask everybody to stand up. Yeah, yeah.
That's 12 members. Name vote.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Sorry, point of order. Can I just ask what we're actually doing right now?
Do you want to stand up for a name vote? If you stay stood up, Councillor Thompson. Oh, sorry, I think it was
3, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14.
Yes, we'll now go to the name vote.
We are going to go to the name vote.
Thank you, members. I'm just going to read out your names. Please can you indicate whether or not you're for the motion, against the motion, or whether or not you abstain. Bearing in mind there's been a few people who have entered once the council meeting started. Please can I have... Thank you. There's a few members who came in slightly late, so if I miss them out, please could you highlight them, please? Councillor Ali, are you for, against, or abstaining?
For.
Councillor Anwar? Lee Ashworth? Councillor Howard Baker?
Neither one way or the other, I'm afraid. I can't.
Abstain. Councillor Gordon Birtwistle?
For.
Councillor Helen Bridges? Councillor Charlie Briggs? Councillor Margaret Brindle? Councillor Ashley Brown? Councillor Saeed Chowdhury?
Against.
Councillor Barbara Dole? Councillor Ivor Emo?
For.
Councillor Josh Graham? Councillor Gemma Haig? Councillor James Halstead? Councillor John Harbour? Councillor Zulkarnain Nen Hayat?
For.
Councillor Bill Horrocks? Councillor Alan Hosker?
For.
Councillor Becky Hughes? Councillor Martin Hurt? Councillor Shah Hussain? For. Councillor Jacqueline Inkle?
Against.
Councillor Mohammed Ishtiaq?
Against.
Councillor Nusrat Kazmi? Councillor Anne Kelly? Councillor Steve Keogh? Councillor Lubna Khan? Councillor Sherish Lawn? Councillor Mark Boulton? Councillor Angela Radcliffe? Councillor Paul Reynolds? Councillor Kev Shackle? Councillor Sean Sproul? Councillor Victoria Taylor? Councillor Gavin Thieker? Councillor Liam Thompson? Councillor Mark Townsend? Councillor Andy Waddington? Councillor Chris Weeks? Last but not least, Councillor Don Whittaker? Thank you. The motion is carried.
The motion is carried. Moving on to item 6.
Order again, please. The motion is now carried, which will now incur expense because we have to look at it, go through the things again. And I just can't cope with the inconsistency of this council chamber at the moment. It's going back to the executive, because that's all it's asking us to do, put it to the executive thing. It's going to incur expense. Why are we debating it? Like the previous but one motion, it's going to expend, it goes back to the executive without debate. Why hasn't this done it? It's got exactly the same criteria. What we're asking the thing to do, go back to the executive. I just can't see with the waste of time and what's going on with it all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The legal officer will answer your question.
Mr. Mayor, if I may respond, when the motion was submitted, instructions were taken of the client department, and that specific question was asked, and it wasn't confirmed that significant expenditure would be incurred. So that's why the motion has come before you for debate.
A point of order. Could she define that word? What is significant expenditure? More than £1, more than 20 million, please. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, it's as described in the council procedurals. It's as described in the council procedurals. It's just described as significant.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I presume the legal officer knows what the actual figure is. It's in the rules she's referring to, so why don't she just tell me? I don't know them, and I can't remember seeing it.
Mr. Mayor, there is no figure prescribed in the council procedurals. It just is, it's expressed as significant expenditure. So there is no figure that can be attached to it.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry about this, but what's
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
is not significant to those gentlemen.
I was quite asleep, yeah.
Quiet.
Councillor Baker, just to clarify, I actually had raised the same point as you did during the debate as well. The explanation provided to me was that the client department felt that it wouldn't incur material expenditure. Like you, I personally would question that, but we've had the debate, and I don't think it's going to benefit us any further. Not only because I want to go watch the football, but to debate it further on that point. The motion's been carried; it's been voted on, and I would recommend, subject to what the mayor thinks, that we move on to the next item because I don't think this is achieving anything.
Item for decision by council. Can I point out to members that items for decision by council are treated as motions? Once a proposal has been moved and seconded, members may speak once and for a maximum of 5 minutes. They may then only speak again on an amendment. Before we move to item 6A, members will have seen in a supplementary agenda published earlier today that Councillor Townsend intends to move a motion under CPR 22.1, suspension to suspend CPR 11 motions on notice and CPR 15.1 motion to rescind a previous decision. Councillor Whittaker.
No.
He put his hand up. Right. The decision concerned were taken at appointment council on 20th of May 2026 to appoint Councillor Whittaker to the Audit and Standards Committee, minute 10, and to the position of chair, minute 11. Councillor Townsend, after he has spoken.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And obviously, I think, as Mr. Mayor has just said, this refers back to Appointments Council when decisions were taken about appointments to committees, chairs and outside bodies. And I think everybody I've spoken to about that meeting will agree that at certain times it was chaotic and chaotic at best, and at various other points a shambles at worst. And I think there's three particular decisions that I think, substantiate that matter. First of all, we're having to sort out the Vice Chair of Development Control that's already on the agenda, where we ended up appointing somebody who wasn't even on the committee, and that got through. We've had issues about the political balance, because over these last 6 weeks, not everybody had signed up to political groups until about 10 days ago. And we had the issues of aligned, unaligned independents that were brand new to the nature of this council, that brought a level of confusion to the appointment of Councillor Whittaker to the Audit and Standards Committee, and as appointment to chair on that committee. And anybody who thinks, like, what's all this about? Aligned independence, unaligned independence. And I think Councillor Baker summed it up wonderfully well when we had the Member Structures Working Group a couple of weeks ago, when basically we ended up spending 20 minutes trying to understand who was who and how it all worked. And I must admit, I've had to go to another council to actually see things written down to try and understand how it actually works. And we ended up with the block moving of unaligned independents onto committees and as appointments to chairs and vice chairs, which seems a bit weird in any sensible world where unaligned independents should just be purely independent. They're not associated with any other person within this council chamber. So it's left us with basically a sense of unease around three decisions. One that's been put right, I believe, the political balance in these last 10 days. We're going to sort Vice Chair of DC out through this report later. And then we've got the issue of basically how there was an appointment to Audit of Standards and the chair of the committee. So it didn't make sense, and it makes even less sense when you look at the minutes that we've already just agreed for the previous meeting tonight. Because Councillor Whitaker obviously, and he stated this at the meeting, he doesn't make any secrets of the fact that he's aligned to Restore Britain, but he's unaligned when he comes into this council chamber and can be classed as an independent. And it seems very nonsensical. So he was elected onto the committee as an unaligned independent, got the chair of the committee on that basis. But when you look at the minutes, it actually says that we've appointed a Restore Britain councillor to that committee, not even an unaligned independent, which seems quite counterintuitive to what we were told was happening. So basically what this motion is about is allowing us to either confirm the decision that council took, that everybody knew what they were doing, and that's how it just worked out, and Councillor Whitaker got the position, or council can make another decision. That's what basically this cancellation of CPRs is actually doing. So it's giving us that opportunity to reaffirm the decision or make another decision based on the chaos that was surrounding the Appointments Council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Happy to second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any member? Councillor Whitaker.
Shall I say? Shall I say?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members, before this council considers a recommendation concerning my removal from the Audits and Standards Committee, I do wish to make a short statement. This is not simply about me, nor is it about party politics. It's about the standards of governance this council expects of itself, the independence of scrutiny and the public's confidence in our decision-making. I begin with the process. This item was submitted late and did not appear on the original agenda published for this meeting. I actually only personally became aware of it late on Monday afternoon, leaving me with very limited time to consider what is a significant constitutional matter. In fact, my first sight of it was when it was sent this afternoon, just after 3 p.m. Unfortunately, my work location is off-grid. I do not have access to the internet, nor do I have a phone signal. As such, when I got an hour off work to come to this council chamber an hour and a half earlier, I had to speed write it and write this. So I do apologise if there's anything in it that is incorrect. The fact that it's a significant matter, this immediately raised an important question. If this matter is sufficiently urgent enough to justify a late report, what exactly is the urgency? What has occurred between the annual committee of the annual council, this meeting in May, and today that necessitates this recommendation being brought forward at such short notice? Neither I nor I suggest members of this council have been provided with an explanation. Good governance requires transparency. Members should not be asked to determine matters affecting the council's constitutional arrangements without being given adequate information and sufficient time to consider it properly. The Audits and Standards Committee is one of the most important committees established by this authority. It provides independent assurance to the whole council over financial reporting, internal control, risk management, government arrangements and the stewardship of public money. It supports both the council and the Section 151 officer in maintaining sound financial governance. The Chartered Institute of Public Finance and Accountancy, the recognised professional authority in this field, states that audits committees must be independent, objective and capable of providing effective challenge. Public confidence depends on that independence. I've always treated my role as an Audits and Standards Committee Chair with the utmost seriousness. I've approached every meeting independently, diligently and conscientiously. I have never viewed my position through a party political lens. My duty has always been to the residents of Burnley, to this council and to ensuring proper stewardship of public funds. That is because members of Audit and Standards Committee have particularly responsibilities. We scrutinise governance, financing management, internal audit, external audit, risk and accountability. These responsibilities require independence of mind and a willingness to ask difficult questions when necessary. That is precisely what the public would expect from those entrusted with overseeing governance. I therefore find it difficult to understand why this proposal is before this council tonight. At the annual council meeting set in May, full council considered committee appointments and was satisfied that I should continue to serve on the Audit and Standards Committee. Since that meeting, my attendance has not changed, my conduct has not changed, my experience has not changed, my understanding of governance has not changed, my commitment to independent scrutiny has certainly not changed. Only one thing has changed since I first became a member of that committee nearly 2 years ago, or over 2 years ago. I chose to leave the Conservative Party and now sit as a Restore Britain councillor, the first in this borough. That is the only material change. It is therefore entirely reasonable for members and the public to ask whether the recommendation is based upon governance considerations or political considerations. That is why the Northern principles of public life are so important. The principles of integrity, objectivity, accountability and openness require decisions to be taken for proper reasons, supported by evidence and explained transparently. Yet the document before us contains no substantive explanation. It does not identify any failure on my part. It does not identify any governance concern. It does not explain why this recommendation was not made in May. It simply asks members to approve my removal. I therefore respectfully ask a number of questions. Why is my removal considered necessary now when it was not necessary only a few weeks ago? What governance issue was raised since May? What objective assessment has been undertaken? What evidence supports this recommendation? Has the monitoring officer advised that members have been provided with sufficient information to make an informed discussion?
Your time is up.
20 more seconds according to my clock. If this recommendation is based upon political proportionality, why has that not clearly been stated in this document? I ask that the monitoring officer be requested to prepare a report for the next meeting of the full council, counting out the legal and constitutional basis of the recommendation. What I'm going to say to you now is you've not got enough information. I've not been allowed to finish this, which I should be allowed. I'm sorry, this is super important. I want to say, in my opinion, this is a political decision, and I am asking for this council to defer this decision to a later date when we have all got the information that you rightfully deserve before making this decision. This is gutter politics at its worst, lower than a snake's belly in a wagon rut, as John Wayne would say. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to say I support Councillor Whittaker on this. When we took that vote that day, we were voting on Councillor Whittaker, not Restore. Clearly, he's previously done the role, must have done a good job, and he was elected again. This feels like an attack on democracy, like the Labour Party clearly like doing. When a vote goes against them, they're trying to overturn it. Now we will support Councillor Whittaker fully with this, and I hope he keeps his position.
Councillor Hussain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I think Councillor Whittaker fought against me. I feel no ill feelings against that, Dom. But I am surprised that this has come. I'm surprised that Labour Party have brought it forward. I'm even more surprised that Councillor Birtwistle has proposed it. Was it not Councillor Birtwistle who voted for you? And few others on that side. So I'm absolutely dead surprised. I don't share Councillor Whittaker's political views. I don't think I ever will. But I've known him since he's been a councillor, and he's been good with me. I've been good with him. There's no issues around that. But what I see here is rerun of democracy
till I get an outcome that I want. And I don't like that. You know, we've not rerun Brexit. Brexit means crap for Britain. We've been worse off by coming out of Europe. But we've not rerun it. It's been over 10 years. You know, so why should we keep rerunning things till we get an outcome? There might be some kind of things they have in terms of the constitution and so on and so forth. And that's been discussed and so on. But what I would do, what I would say, I would agree with Councillor Whitaker, that members are given the opportunity to understand the reasons why, as Councillor Townsend has given us. But I think it needs to be deferred to another meeting so members clearly can understand the reasons why this has come about. Thank you.
Councillor Paulson.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Townsend keeps implying the first meeting was chaos. Do we then bring back every single request from that meeting for appointments? Clearly we don't. For many of my Reform colleagues, it was their first meeting. The appointments meeting was their first meeting. They knew what they were voting for that night, but Labour, who've been in this chamber for many years, clearly did not. They're meant to be the experienced ones. They said it was chaos. We knew what we were voting for. We appointed Councillor Whitaker that night, and we will be sticking with that appointment. Thank you, Mayor.
So, Mark.
Councillor Hasker. Councillor Hasker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Whitaker deserves his chance. It was voted on fair and square. I'm proud of the fact I put him and the other Conservatives. I was the first one to nominate you for chair and you got voted in. You've done an excellent job. You say things as it is, you don't mix your words, and you've worked hard. And I think what the Labour group are trying to do is upsetting. I could understand if I were in your position, I'd be upset. I think this decision tonight should be taken, and I think you should keep your position as voted on.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Something wrong with this phone, I think, but I'm not sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems to be we're trying to decide something. It doesn't work. None of them work on that. I'll try that one. I'll be the wrong person. I'll get the wrong thing, but that one doesn't work either. Try this one. Something's on anyway, so I'll keep going. Right. Sorry about that, Mr. Mayor. Sorry for wasting time. It seems to be we're in danger of judging a book by its cover in this instance here. He's a member of a new party, or to us, that is. And we're saying, possibly for that reason, he's not fit to serve as chair. Well, he's done an excellent job as far as I can see. I've certainly not heard any complaints about him. I don't judge a book by its cover. I judge it on the person. I've already met one or two of the reforms. I've not taken an instant dislike, and they haven't gone on about hanging people, shucking people out or anything. They just acted as reasonable Burnley citizens. And if that's the case, that's what we were all elected for. So I'm not 100% certain what the grounds that Councillor Townsend is raising, so perhaps at some point he can raise it. Is it because Councillor Whitaker was called as a member of an independent group and got entitled to have one committee chair, one committee position because of that? Because if that's the case, as far as I understand, there's precedent for that happening, certainly within Burnley Council before, where we've let something like that happen. I think even Councillor Birtwistle told me he was elected like that in 2005 or something to a committee or something. Well, it might be even longer than that. But if there's precedent and it's a valid decision for him to be eligible, end of story from my point of view. Now, if we're saying now as a point of law that isn't the case, then I'll fully agree with Councillor Townsend. Perhaps let's look at it again. But then I'll come back to you and say, what's the panic for doing it tonight? We can do it at the next meeting when we all have a bit more information. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Right. If we haven't concluded the business by 7:15 tonight, I will move CPR 13K to adjourn the meeting to enable the building to be emptied and locked up so that everyone who wishes and is able to enjoy the match can do so. Inform the meeting that we will be in touch to inform members about how the remaining business will be dealt with. Can I ask the deputy mayor to second that motion, please?
I second that, Mr Mayor.
All those in favour, please show.
To adjourn the meeting.
All those against? Any abstentions? Right, I'm going to adjourn the meeting and wish you good luck and enjoy the match and good luck to England.